Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dominic. Welcome. Today we are starting a very new initiative in NFE, and I'm so happy to inform you that within 3 days we have overwhelming response to this initiative. We have over 550 plus registration to understand and know about this today's program, and most of us are members or joined today. And I want to just introduce what is NFE, National Federation of Engineers for Electrical Safety, which is just a 5 months old baby today. And in this 5 months we have done around 18 seminars across country, touching over 5,000 plus participants or delegates, and over 15 webinars. And we have been traveling length and breadth of this country talking about National Electrical Code of India in association with Bureau of Indian Standard. And also I'm very happy to say within 5 months we have crossed over 700 members in NFE. Today NFE is one of the fastest growing society in India and widely spreading across India. Last week we have launched Mumbai chapter, so we have another 8 more chapter to be launched. So we intend to spread across the country by end of December. So our vision is very clear: to make every electrical installation free of accidents such as electrocution and fire due to short circuits, and increasingly the reliability of the electrical installation, thus contributing to the saving of lives and property and supporting sustainable development. Our mission is very clear. That's one of the agenda of today. We shall strive to achieve our vision through getting accredited for product personal certification, which shall focus on electrical safety by design, manufacturing, installation and maintenance of electrical product, and installation by competent and qualified manpower using quality resources, including product, process and procedures. I would urge those who are joined and will be joining, we will be sharing the link in the chat box, urging all those participants who are not yet member of NFE to join NFE. And we are upcoming events, major events is on 29th of September. We will be talking on National Electrical Code of India in Coimbatore, and on October 13th, a one-day seminar again on the same subject, and it will be held in Delhi. It is NCR, we call Gurgaon. So I would urge people in that region, northern part of India, those who have not attended our previous, please take this advantage and join us for the seminar, the physical seminar in Gurgaon. And today, most of you know, the nation wants to know what is NEC certified electrical professionals. That's a famous quote by one of our TV anchor. Nation wants to know. Yes, today we have overwhelming response. All the electrical engineers want to know what is NFE certified electrical professionals. I would like to leave this page to our president, Mr. Gopakumar, to talk about and in shortly introduce what is NFE certified electrical safety professionals. Today we have 4 eminent speakers, and I would like to introduce Anil Jwari, who was a well-known face when it comes to National Accreditation Board of Certification bodies. And he has nearly 43 years of experience in the field of quality, standard, certification and accreditation, having worked earlier in the Bureau of Indian Standards, the National Standard Body, and Export Inspection Council, India's official export regulator and certification body under the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. During his tenure as the CEO, NABCB secured number of international equivalences based on peer evaluation of NABCB, such as product certification, inspection, various management systems like food safety, information security, occupational health and safety, and energy management system and personal certification, making NABCB at par with best accreditation body in the world. He has been a lead assessor for NABCB and USA-based accreditation body. And we are honored to have him as keynote speaker for today's session. I welcome Anil Jwari to the program, sir. We have our president, Mr. Gopakumar. I don't need any introduction about Mr. Gopakumar, and he is being seen physically, virtually, everywhere, all part of not only India, all part of the world. So I'll move on to our another speaker, Annie Jones, Management System Assessor. She has over 25 years of engineering experiences, and she has managed NABCB operations, hold certification from RABQ SA and OASIS as an aerospace auditor, and has conducted over 300 audits across various standards. As an independent assessor and management system professional since February 2015, she works as an accreditation body assessor for NABCB. We have our international speaker today, Mr. Osman Ural. He is a civil engineer who graduated from Gazi University in Turkey in 1989. He started his career as a junior site engineer in construction projects and later joined the Turkish Standard Institute, where he worked on a construction projects and even collaborated on a World Bank project. In 2006, Mr. Ural founded TQNet, Turkey's first accredited personal certification organization, and joined the International Personal Certification Association IPC. He served as IPC's chairman for 2 terms from 2015 to 2019 and continued to support IPC as a technical consultant. Since 2014, he has been actively involved with International Assessment Services IAS, mainly focusing on ISO IEC 17024 assessments and assessment in various fields. Since 2020, he has been working as a program manager at International Assessment Services. Welcome the keynote address and all the speakers for today's program. And as I said, we are all very keen to know how this process is going to start and how the electrical engineer need to be equipped to be certified. I now give the forum to our president, Mr. Gopakumar. Sir, over to you, sir.
Good afternoon to everybody. So we welcome Anil Jwari sir to have the keynote address as well as the explanation. You know, most of us are eager to get the awareness on this accreditation system. So, sir, welcome you to make your keynote speech, sir.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Dominic. Thank you, Gopakumar. I am mighty pleased to be here to be speaking on this occasion of, publicly unveiling a draft scheme on certifying electrical safety professionals, which we have been quietly working on for last, I think, 6 months or so. I think I got to know Gopakumar about a year back. I am working on a scheme for fire safety inspections, which will be announced on 5th of October. And there I felt the need for an electrical safety professional because many of the fire incidents are taking place with old friends in BIS. And I was told that the best person to talk to is Gopakumar. And that's how I got across to Gopakumar, and that's how we know each other for about last 1 year. And I think we got to know each other at the right time because Gopam Kumar was planning to set up NFE, which I think was launched in January. So I was a witness to that launch ceremony as well. And then he had this idea of starting a certification scheme on electrical safety professionals. And it so happened that I have been involved in creating certification schemes for last how many years? About 14 years. My first scheme was in 2009, including personal certification. Now that's an interesting area, personal certification. I was involved in creating a scheme for certifying yoga professionals. Today it goes under the name of Yoga Certification Board of the Ministry of Ayush. And I am a member of the board since inception in 2018. The scheme was launched in 2015. And then I was involved in creating a scheme for certifying traditional healers. You might surprise you. Healers who use local knowledge of medicinal plants to treat people who are not professional doctors. There is a scheme in place under Quality Council of India. And then there was a scheme for certifying good clinical practice professionals. We heard a lot about clinical trials during the COVID times. And as per the law, people who are involved in clinical trials are supposed to have knowledge of good clinical practice. So there is a scheme for that as well under an organization called THSTI in Department of Biotechnology. So what is this personal or person certification? Actually, internationally, it's called certification of persons. But somehow in India, we have been calling it personal certification, and so it goes. Typically, we know, I mean, all of us are, I suppose, electrical engineers here. I am a civil engineer, incidentally. But most of you are electrical engineers. You all have degrees in electrical engineering. And we have never felt the need for any kind of certification because that degree is good enough for us. But there are a whole lot of areas which are not governed by formal education. The examples I gave you, for example, yoga. There are all kinds of people who have learned yoga in different ways, different trainings, different, you know, there's no formal education. There may not be. There is certain formal education, but most of the people have come through route of training with this entity or that entity. Traditional healers, by very definition, there's no formal system. So there is this system of certifying people. It may sound interesting, sound weird also to some people. How do we certify people? But there is a system of certifying competence. It relies on defining the knowledge and skills. Defining the knowledge and skills which is required to do a particular job. Now, as electrical engineers or as a civil engineer, we don't need any certification because our degrees are good enough. But there are aspects within civil engineering or within electrical engineering which might not have such a focus when we are studying civil engineering or electrical engineering. And electrical safety may happen to be one of them, which needs a more specific knowledge, especially of standards, international standards, etc., which is not imparted during our coursework, really speaking. So personal certification or person certification can apply in these areas as well. Any specific element of even our formal education system. So when Mr. Gopakumar mooted this idea, I said, yes, absolutely, this can be done. This can be done through a system where you define what is the knowledge needed, what is the skill needed for a particular job, and you define different levels of people who would be certified. So we came up with an idea that somebody who designs should be certified. He's a good designer. Somebody who actually installs electrical safety measures on the site should be certified. And somebody who inspects electrical safety, verifies that electrical safety is properly maintained at a particular site. So we came up with these three job profiles which needed to be certified. And then the question of writing down what is the knowledge needed, what is the skill needed. Inspection is a skill, for example. You need certain knowledge, you need certain skill. So the question of writing down the knowledge and skill by experts in electrical area, electrical safety area, not people like me who are experts on 1724 or are experts on certification or accreditation, who may not be domain experts. How do you think I could be involved in, creating a scheme for yoga certification? Fortunately, you can't see me on physically today, But if you have a look at it, you will realize I am far removed from doing yoga. But I did that. Or traditional healer, how could I be involved? That is because some of us have the knowledge, like Annie here also, and I believe Osman also, who comes from IAS. We have the knowledge how certification takes place, how accreditation takes place, what kind of standard applies, what kind of model can work. So that knowledge we bring to domain experts like electrical safety here or yoga or traditional healer, etc., and try and bring up a solution. So this is a system where you define the knowledge and skills, and then you define how to evaluate the knowledge and skills. That could be a simple written test. That could be an interview. That could be a practical demonstration of your, competence. That could be on-the-job demonstration of your competence, actually doing an inspection. I mean, in fact, we as auditors are aware that we are evaluated on site before we become independent auditors. We are evaluated on site, and then we are, approved as independent auditors. So we have gone through that. All of us auditors like me have gone through that exercise. As a thumb rule, I would say, I mean, it's not written down anywhere, but as a thumb rule, I would say that the larger the component of knowledge, you can do it by interview or a test. Larger the component of skill, you will need a practical demonstration. For example, yoga, you need a practical demonstration. Good clinical practice, you need the knowledge only. So a written test is good enough. For a yoga professional, because you want to see him perform yoga, a demonstration, practical demonstration is a must as part of evaluation. So that is also a judgment that we have to exercise when we design electrical safety professional certification scheme. Which one needs practical demonstration? Which is the part which can be judged simply by an interview or a written test? Knowledge can be judged, but not the practical part. So this is how this personal certification scheme is constructed. Now, one of the things that in this globalized world we think about is how can these kind of professionals, or even say ISO 9001 certification, be acceptable all over the world? And there is a way of doing that. So there are two parts to it. One is the standard or the criteria against which certification takes place. In this case, this will be the knowledge and skills for electrical safety. Now, if that is based on international standards of IEC, for example, there are a lot of standards of electrical safety by IEC. If you are base your criteria on international standards. On the other hand, the evaluation method also should be acceptable globally. So we know that these are the interview, written test, practical demonstration are the methods. But the body which certifies in standards, and that's where a standard like ISO 17024 comes into play, which is for bodies who certify persons, which means in short, personal certification bodies, as we call them here. That certification body has to operate as per certain principle. It has to be impartial. One of the cornerstones of certification is impartiality. It's third-party certification. It's a certification by an independent party. It has to be competent, because if you are assessing yoga professionals, you have to have competence in yoga. If you are going to assess electrical safety professionals, you have to have competence in electrical safety. And it has to apply a consistent process. If we are going to evaluate candidate after candidate, even a single body, if it evaluates candidate after candidate, it conducts exam 1 month later, then 2 months later, and 3 months later. It has to be consistently of the same quality. It cannot be one day, a very simple exam, everybody can clear it, and second time when the exam is so difficult that nobody is able to clear. So there has to be certain consistency and the uniformity of the process, of the certification process, how you will evaluate, how the process will take place. So these three things are the actually cornerstone of what is called accreditation: impartiality, competence, and uniformity of the process. Now, these certification bodies would need an accreditation to testify that they are competent, they are impartial, and they follow a uniform process. And worldwide, there is a system of accreditation in introduction, the National Accreditation Board for Certification Bodies, which accredits all kinds of certification bodies: product certification bodies, process certification bodies like organic or good agricultural practices, Uh, Management system certification bodies like ISO 9001, ISO 14001, ISO 45001, and personal certification bodies. There is something called greenhouse gases. We are talking about ESG. All this will be, all this will come under validation and verification, which is ISO 17029. So, and NABCB also does inspection. IAS is a counterpart of NABCB in US. US has a multi-accreditation body system. There are private accreditation bodies, a number of them. Whereas India has largely followed, not by law, but by history, largely followed a system where we have a single national accreditation body as of now. But tomorrow there may be, in case of laboratory, we had NABL for a long, long time. But in last 1 year, 2 more accreditation bodies acquired international equivalents called Quality and Accreditation Institute and FDAS, Federation for Development of Accreditation Services. So India has also become a multi-AB country for the time being, as far as lab accreditation is concerned. But when it goes to personal certification or certification, we are still having a single accreditation body. But our borders have been free from day one. Therefore, NABCB from day one has been in a way in competition with foreign accreditation bodies who are also operating here. And they are free to operate. There's no restriction at all in India for any certification body to be, or accreditation body to be operating here. So that's how the scheme would be structured. Now you can see the wonderful part of this system is that you have a standard for certification. Say, let's say, more easily understood, ISO 9001 on one hand. And then you have a process of certification, which is also evaluated. Certification body is there. Certification body is accredited by accreditation body. Accreditation body is part of a regional system. The regional system is part of an international system under what is called International Accreditation Forum. NABCB is a member of IAF, so is IAS. We are all members of IAF. IAF actually physically evaluates regional bodies every 4 years. So in India is under Asia Pacific Accreditation Cooperation. And I am personally an IAF evaluator currently. And I have been involved in evaluation of regions. Currently, I am evaluating international accreditation, Inter-American Accreditation Cooperation, which is both Americas put together. Europe also has a regional body called European Accreditation Cooperation. So every 4 years, IAF evaluates the regional bodies. The regional bodies every 4 years evaluate the accreditation bodies, individual accreditation bodies. So NABCB undergoes an evaluation every 4 years. IAS undergoes an evaluation every 4 years. And the accreditation bodies in turn evaluate the certification bodies, and that is usually annual. So we are having certification bodies in India who are accredited by NABCB or accredited, even IAS is present in India, accredited by IAS, and they must be getting evaluated every year. One component of that evaluation also is not only going to the office of a certification body, but actually going with them to their audits, actually observing their audits. In case of personal certification, it would be actually observing how they examine people. So actually observing a test being conducted, actually observing an interview being conducted to see that it is done properly. So that's how the system is. In fact, jokingly in our word, we say that in God we trust, rest all have to show evidence. So every level is evaluated. Now, the wonderful part of this system is that once the standard is international, the standard for certification, that is, for example, ISO 9001, and the process is also internationally laid down, evaluated, under evaluation, then that product or process or organization can become internationally acceptable. Now, please remember, this is a voluntary system. This is not a system which has been set up by law. This is not a system set up by the governments. This is a voluntary system. IAF is a voluntary organization. NABCB is also a voluntary organization. We operate in a voluntary market. But governments have recognized this system in free trade agreements, for example. If you read through my biodata, you would have seen that I have been involved in trade negotiations, especially with the US. Why was that? Because when we are talking of product access, we want to export products to US, US wants to export products to India. The standard has to be common. Say it's an electric iron, the same standard applies. And then the process of evaluating or testing also has to be common. And if that both are international, that product can move from one country to another. That is a secret how in EU the products move around, or in ASEAN the products move around. So it has a huge value. Now apply the same to personal certification. If the basic standard against which you are being evaluated is based on international standards like electrical safety, which is internationally prescribed, the standards will be the same. And the process is also, it is done by bodies which are evaluated to an international standard ISO 17024. So in future, this could become, a mobility will be facilitated. A professional certified in India could be accepted in another country. Now, please remember, sometimes this is by law, which is called licensing. Sometimes people are licensed. We have licensed contractors. We may have licensed many other professions which are licensed, which are by law. Or we may have voluntary systems. In India, we have, as it appears, licensed contractors. So you can apply this system even in licensing. You can recognize a certified professional as equivalent to what a licensing needs. So these systems can facilitate the mobility of professionals across borders in future. We should keep that in mind. So that's how this system is structured. It's a very, very wonderful system, I would say. As I said, I have been involved in creating 15 or 16 schemes. And I believe this is one very good way of facilitating mobility of products as well as of people across borders. Now, when you start a new scheme, when we started yoga certification, there's no certification body in the market which was certifying yoga professionals because the system did not exist. Same thing happens with every new scheme that comes in. So when we come up with the electrical safety professional scheme, initially what we will find is that there is a certification body. Now, NFE had a choice. NFE has a choice. It can be a certification body by itself. It can go to NABCB or go to IS and get accredited. Or it has a choice to create a system whereby it owns the system. What we call in international terms, it's called scheme owner. NFE has chosen, after much debate that we had in internal discussions, to be a scheme owner. So you are the scheme owner. NFE is the scheme owner. It will lay down the standard for certification or the criteria for certification for different levels like designer, installer, or verifier. It will also lay down the process of certification, how these people will be evaluated, at what frequency, for how long will the certification be, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, what is the period of certification, how frequently they will be re-evaluated, because in personal certification, we also believe that you have to maintain your competence. It's not one time, like if I have got a degree in engineering, forever I am an engineer. But it doesn't happen so in personal certification. You get a certificate, you get it for 3 years, 5 years, whatever period you decide, and then you are re-evaluated. Are you still competent? Have you maintained your competence? Have you practiced your craft? You may not practice it at all. You may go out of competence. You may not be up to date. You may have, God forbid, a physical accident kind of illness which might prevent you from performing your job. So there is a recertification process. There is a surveillance process. So when the new scheme comes in, you need a new certification body. So there is a system of what is called a provisional approval. You just check the competence of the body and approve it provisionally till it gets accredited to ISO 17024. You give them some time to get accredited, because in accreditation, you need to demonstrate clients. You don't have clients until you certify some, until you become part of the scheme. So provisional approval system is a very essential part of a new scheme, so that provisionally you can get some bodies into the system. They start certifying, and then they are able to go to the accreditation body and show that compliance to international standard. They can be witnessed, they can have clients, they can show evaluation, etc. So that's how this system will be structured. As I can see, people are beginning to ask questions in your chat box, and they're asking, can I get certified after this? Not after this webinar, certainly. So this is the first webinar. This is just telling you we are coming up with a scheme. I'm sure Gopakumar and Annie will tell you more about the scheme. But yes, the idea is that you should get certified. So please hold on, have patience. This is the first day. This is the first public announcement of this system. Please have patience. Yes, we are coming out with a system. This is public. This is also part of international best practice, that you go public and invite public comments. So after having done our own work through a small expert group which Gopakumar had set up, we have now gone public. It's available on the website. You people can read the scheme, you can read the criteria, you can read the process, you can come up with comments. You may feel that it's not okay, something needs to be changed, something needs to be added or subtracted. You are welcome to do that. The public consultation is an essential part. It's an international best practice for creating any standard or any scheme. Gopakumar is a veteran in standard setting. He has been in BIS, he has been in IAC, he knows the process. So please hold on. Please have some patience. In next couple of months, this process will be completed. We will announce the scheme. Then there will be some certification bodies in place. Then you can go for certification, apply to them and get certified. And then we'll be on absolutely. So with these remarks, I would like to close here and leave the floor now for the actual, demonstration of the scheme, how it has been developed, what it contains. Over to you, Mr. Gopakumar. Thank you very much and all the best for this endeavor. I'm truly excited and truly thankful to you that you have invited me to be part of this system. I'm happy to be part of the system, and I'm sure this will, given the kind of registrations you've done, received, and the kind of participation that you have right now, I can see more than 200 people here. Well, I'm sure that this will be a huge success, something that is needed in India, given that electrical safety is pretty neglected area. We know that how many, especially in hospitals, we have seen in India in recent times, a lot of accidents have happened fire accidents have happened in the hospitals. And most of them have been due to electrical safety issues. So it will be a huge plus for India to have a scheme like this in place. Thank you very much and all the best.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Thanks for all your support. Our scheme is, it's all because of your advice. Without your advice, I'm sure, it will be very difficult for us to handle. I will just introduce a small about the need of this kind of a certification and about the criteria to become a certified person. As all of you know, we are a registered society. It's a not-for-profit organization. We got the idea after during the COVID time. We were making, not only me, along with me, all our members, we were making a lot of efforts on trainings, classes, webinars. Then somebody asked the idea, why don't you make an organized system? So that was the beginning where we started thinking about NFE. So now we registered and we started the operation in March of this year. So why this kind of a scheme is necessary for India? As Anil sir told, the number of accidents, electrical related accidents in India, it is much on a higher side. For example, every year I am going to at least 6 to 7 times I am going out of India for visiting or meeting some of the IEC meetings. And wherever I go, I'm just trying to find out the kind of system followed in those countries and the number of accidents happening in those countries. Unfortunately, the figures are too much for us. If we look at a global average, maybe the fire accidents 4 to 5 times more than other countries. For example, the Mumbai Fire Brigade says about 80% of the fire accidents in buildings in Mumbai are due to electricity. But if we look at some of the developed nations, the number of fire accidents due to electricity is something about 10%. So we have much more to add. Similarly, in 2016, the Japanese delegation who has presented the study report in Central Electricity Authority, this report is also available in the CEA website. It says the number of accidents in India or death due to electrocution in India, approximately 723 people out of 100 million population per year. We stand the toppest, and in comparison, you can see the other countries. The number of death is quite less due to electrocution, and we have the largest. This is actually an alarming situation. All of you are aware that, or most of you are aware that recently the CEA has published the Regulation 2023, the CEA measures relating to safety and electric supply regulations 2023. In those regulations, a lot of new improvements or new safety measures are being included, which is taking the subject to further heights. Now, the same safety study, for example, there is a survey and the report says approximately our safety situation. The survey report you can see here, India 16%, the reliability of our electrical installation out of G20 nations is the least. So this was one of the reason we started NFE. That is the reason we put the name as National Federation of Engineers for Electrical Safety, because we were very specific in making the name electrical safety, because our aim is to make safe Bharat. We have 4 divisions. The first one is training. Most of you know it very well. We were conducting a lot of training programs across India, even before NFE, but after NFE, it has become in an organized way. The upcoming programs are 29th of this month in Coimbatore, 13th of next month in Gurugram. So a lot of programs, also some kind of, not public programs for specific industry. For example, today morning, almost 4 hours, I was with the petrochemical industry explaining about the NEC. So now we have the second division, which is products division. Here we are trying to improve the quality of the products and make the products equal to the international level, which is actually a very important subject which we need to take up, because sometime due to poor quality accidents are happening, poor product quality accidents are happening. The third one is quality and accreditation, which we are going to talk now. Then the standards and regulation. We actively started participating in several of the BIS standards group. With respect to the electrical safety certification scheme, we aim to make 3 type of professionals. So one is NFE certified electrical consultant, NFE certified electrical installer, and NFE certified electrical safety verifier. So these names were fixed after a lot of deliberations, lot of discussions. Initially, we thought of making the name, for example, NFE certified electrical safety consultant, then safety verifier. After a lot of discussions, finally we have made this name, but this is a draft document. The document is for public opinion. So all your comments are very much welcome. You please make comments because more and more comments makes our document more perfect. We will also try to have 3 levels of certification: level 1, level 2, and level 3. Initially, we are starting with level 1. And the documents, as Anil sir told, it's based on ISO IEC 17024 personal certification. Then about the knowledge and the skills, what we are aiming is the engineers, these professionals will be able to, or they have to have the knowledge and they have to have the skills to do a job based on CEA measures relating to safety and electric supply regulations 2023, National Electrical Code of India NEC 2023, which is the SP30, IS 732 Code of Practice of Electrical Wiring, and the 2 IEC standards. Because IEC 61936 as well as IEC 60364, these are the standards, or these are the base standards with which the National Electrical Code is made of. So basically, a person who is skilled in our scheme, he also will have good knowledge about, or he is also equipped or skilled to do a job based on IEC 60364, which is accepted globally all over the world. All over the world, the electrical wiring regulations are based on IEC 60364 low voltage, and above 1 kV it's based on 61936. So our scheme, there's a good scope that the scheme can be taken to an international level because it's based on the international standards. Now the first post, NFE certified electrical consultant, here what we should understand is in India, electrical design is a subject which is not a statutory subject. It's not a legal requirement to have an electrical designer for a building or for a project. So this is actually often a challenge. At the moment, the quality of people or the quality of professionals working in this field, there is no control. There are highly calibered, highly qualified people in the doing this particular job. Also, there are unskilled people also doing this job, which creates an unbalanced situation. So what we are trying to do is the electrical consultant, his roles and responsibilities will be to design an electrical installation up to 33 kV or below 33 kV within the consumer premise mainly, not distribution, generation, transmission. Then a selection of equipment and devices conforming to the IS and IEC standards. So basically the design as well as selection of the items used in these installations shall be as per the IS or the IEC standards, especially the National Electrical Code. Then, so the prerequisites we have fixed, you can find it in the draft document. He has to have abilities, he has to have a minimum qualification, degree or diploma in engineering. Please note that we are not talking about electrical engineering, because in as per the standard ISO 17024, the qualification is not important, but the skill and knowledge is the most important subject. But however, since we have the practice of making a basic minimum qualification, we have put as a degree or diploma in engineering, not specifically electrical engineering. And after the degree diploma, there shall be minimum 2 years for degree holders, work experience, and 3 years for diploma holders in the relevant field. That means the electrical engineering design job they must do. And to apply for the scheme, they have to be they have to be certified by a consumer or a customer with a connected load more than 50 kilowatt in respect of design work undertaken by the professional. So with these prerequisites, the scheme, this is the prerequisites which we fixed on the scheme. Now, after that, there will be the checking of knowledge and skills, which is based on some kind of written examinations or some kind of, checking the drawings which is made, and those things comes into picture. Checking the knowledge and skills. This is the first position which we are trying to make. The next one is about electrical installer. In case of electrical installer, we had actually a lot of discussion on this particular post or this particular professional, because in India, we have legally electrical supervisor and electrical contractor. But practically, we are looking at a person who is able to do a good job. Most of the time, electrical contractor is not a person who is actually doing the job, because the job is done by most of the time by supervisors or people below the electrical contractor. So we are not looking at any legal requirement for this particular thing. We are just trying to make people, those who are competent and skilled to do the erection of an electrical installation. So here, another subject or another point of discussion in case of electrical installer is there are thousands or lakhs and lakhs of electrical engineers, those who are working in the field of, let's say, for example, erection of an electrical item, such as an UPS, such as, for example, some kind of BMS equipment, some kind of automation system. Hundreds and thousands or even lakhs and lakhs of people are there. Most of them, if we look at the skills, it's a good idea to make them skilled enough to do their job. So this is the second position which we are trying. Here, the qualification, we are not looking at any qualification. The professional shall have the ability to understand the scheme documents and define criteria. So he has to read the drawings, he has to understand the drawing and do it. Why? Because, for example, the electrical contractors, some of the state governments have electrical contractors should have a certain degree, certain qualification, and certain minimum experience. Whereas some of the state governments in India, the basic qualification is not defined. You don't need to be qualified to become a contractor, because it is based on the certification is based on the contractor license is given based on his experience and based on his basic minimum requirements. So we are not talking in this case about qualification, but his skills and knowledge is much more important for us. Not only the installer, we are also looking at people, those who are doing installation and maintenance of electrical installation, maintenance of electrical installation. They also have to have certain skills. Also suppliers of UPS, PLCs, drives, panels, and so on. All these people are coming under electrical installer. The last one is certified electrical safety verifier. In this name, we have included the name safety verifier, because The system of the safety verification doesn't exist in India. Of course, electrical safety audits are being carried out in industry, but without any basic. These safety audits are not based on any standard. It is based on most of the time of the experience of the auditor or the experience of the client. So here in this case, what we are trying to do is the safety auditor verifier should do the verification of electrical installation as per NEC 2023 or IEC 60364, all parts of this IEC standard, as well as the Central Electricity Authority regulations up to 33 kV. So the educational qualification, here we have made a degree or a diploma in engineering, and post-qualification, minimum 3 years experience in the field of electrical verification works, such as verification of electrical installation, cabling, earthing system, protective device, equipment and materials as per specification given by electrical consultants, and selection of equipments and so on. So what they have to provide is they have to provide a self-declaration by the professional along with a filled form as per NEC 2023. See, for example, the verifier, he has to do the verification and there is a format for recording given in the part 1 section 17 of NEC. So he has to fill the format. So, to fill the format, he has to be skilled to do the job. So that is included. So he has to make one trial job and he has to submit it along with as a prerequisite. Then his knowledge and skills are also tested or checked by within the scheme. So we have published the scheme documents in all our social media pages such as Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, as well as we put it in our website Vidyut Suraksha. Unfortunately, we could not put it in NFE website because there is some banking system upgradation going on. Very soon we will be putting it in NFE website also. So this is all about the scheme. Now I would like to invite Madam Annie to explain about the certification process. Madam, can you share the screen or shall I?
Yes, if you can please help me with sharing the screen. Thank you. Yes, I see that it is up. Yes. Good evening to all. In continuation with Mr. Gopakumar's discussion, what he has covered is the competence criteria that would be expected in the scheme for those 3 categories of professionals. So we have seen that we have a consultant, we have an installer, and we have a safety verifier. As per this international standard of ISO 17024, for the certification process, so that it would be internationally accepted once that it gets accredited, certification bodies start implementing this process. As per this process, the established document, again available for public comments, and briefly, I think touched by Mr. Anil Jyori, the certification process is to establish that the personnel are certified by a very systematic, objectively established competence. And here, the certificates would be valid for 5 years and subject to conduct of surveillance that is conducted once in 3 years in this 5-year period. All right. So the scope, as briefly touched previously, is for the 3 professional categories: for design and selection, for the consultant, for the electrical safety erection personnel would be called electrical installers, and for verification, that is, they'll be called safety verifiers. And the whole scheme is proposed as per ISO 17024 requirement. NFE is going to be the scheme owner. Just reiterating, as a scheme owner, they have designed the requirements for the scheme and the competence criteria and the evaluation process to be followed by bodies. Here we call the personal certification bodies, who will conduct this activity of evaluation and establishing the competence. All right. The certification process is going to be, it's not complicated, it's quite simple. Here, the applicants are expected to applied through a form that will be made publicly available through their website. NFE would use their website to upload these scheme documents. So any applicant can review, read the scheme documents. It will be accessible across the country so that there is no apprehension or interpretation issues. The format would be available on the website so that any applicant with the expectations would understand what is the need for the registration process. Here, this scheme document, certification process document, will show what are the registration process and how the body accepting these applicants should process an application. Within 7 days, it's expected that any personal certification body responds to an applicant, tell them the acceptance or any cases of rejection, what are the reasons for it. So the whole process of application is defined in this process under clause 3.1. The assessment that has to be conducted by the body, here we will call it competence assessment. The process and methodology is also defined and documented. The assessment is expected to be objective and very systematically conducted. And therefore, there should be no ambiguity for an assessment that is conducted this week or this month, or in this branch or another branch across the country and across all bodies who are now getting accredited for the scheme should apply this process systematically and objectively, and therefore complying to ISO 17024 requirement. The methodology of assessment that will be followed would have an examination process. The examination process would be a combination of written exam, demonstration, and oral interview, so as to cover both knowledge and skills requirement defined for all the three categories. The next slide talks about the setting of test papers. Now, as we said, there has to be very systematic way of evaluation so that the established processes gives confidence that the personal certified meets the criteria. So the written examination, it is here proposed that the initial set of question papers would be initiated by the scheme owner and provided to the certification body who are going to be authorized by the scheme owner. And it will be expected that from this set of the question banks, so the standard of questions will be set up by the scheme owner. From the set of these question papers, the certification bodies ensures that our examination process is well conducted. Again, here, skills will be assessed by panel, could be either on-site or through practical demonstration by the candidate, overseen by invigilators and evaluators. The assessment process, here it is very briefly described in this slide, is to be followed by the certification body. How they should conduct an assessment, the centers they use, the invigilators that are used, the examination papers that are distributed, the method of collecting, scoring is described in the assessment process to be followed by a certification body. After the assessment is conducted, the evaluation of this knowledge and skills is again established so that a personal body needs to have competent people to ensure that the demonstration of the establishing of this examination process, the evaluation of the papers, the interviews that are conducted in a manner that is prescribed by the scheme owner in the certification process. It will be generally expected that a 3-member team is used for evaluating papers and for the conduct of interviews. The demonstration for each 3 levels is also described in detail so that their actual skills are seen and evaluated before they are certified. Having stated this, any system, as we said in an ISO system, which is internationally accepted, the decision-making After a complete evaluation is done by an independent personnel who will review, who has not been involved in the assessment process, who will re-verify the whole assessment process, the results of the examination, and ensure that all evidences are made available and established that this personnel who's getting certified has met the prerequisites, has met the knowledge and skills before being certified. There is no provision of conditional grant of certification, or after the end of 5 years when it applies for recertification, there is no provision for any conditional grants. All criteria have to be met, evidence made available before any personnel can be certified. In this scheme, it is highly expected that all information is maintained on a website. Database is maintained of both certified personnel, applicants, both by the personal certification body and made available to the scheme owner. Any certificate that is issued by the certification body, the validity of certificate would begin only after the date of decision making, after the decision has been granted. Every certificate would be valid for 5 years, subject to the conduct of surveillance in between period, the 3 years, which is defined in this process. The details of a certificate that is issued to any certified professional meets the 1724 requirements, which says very clearly that the subject matter, the content of the certificate, the logos to be used are defined and has to be met by the certificate that is received by a certified personnel. Surveillance, the requirement of surveillance and recertification is described in this document. Surveillance shall be conducted in the 3rd year of the certification cycle, so that the validity of 5 years is maintained. For every surveillance assessment, for the 3 categories, at consultant, installer, and verifier, it would be expected that the actual skills, that, for example, for the design service provided by the certified professional in the last 2 years is demonstrated and evaluated. A broad requirement of surveillance is given in this certification process. At the end of 5 years, a recertification process has to be initiated by the certification body, personal certification body, by issuing advance notice before the expiry, within 6 months, to the professional that there is a renewal period needs to be started, the notice has to be given, and a recertification methodology would typically follow an initial and surveillance methods used. That means examination, oral demonstration of skills would have to be established. There is, like every other management systems, a system of suspension and cancellation of certificates. That would mean that if any personnel who does not meet the requirements of the scheme at any time, a misconduct, unsatisfactory performance, any serious complaints would result in initiation of certification, suspension, or even cancellation of certification. And the details of this requirements would be available in the document, also on the website, for clear clarity of every personnel, what is expected out of them after certification. Also, a code of conduct document would be made available so that a person signs and prescribes to it once he gets certified. At the end of it all, there would be a fee structure that would be applicable to this process, which once decided by the scheme owner would be made available public. Thank you all. I think the further questions, there are many people with many questions, would be taken up by the panelists.
Thank you very much, madam. Thank you very much for the detailed explanation. So now I would like to invite Mr. Osman Vural to have a small presentation, as well as Mr. Usman. We are eager to get your impression about, as a certifying body, how do you think about this, our scheme? We would like to hear from you.
Okay. First of all, I would like to thank you for inviting me this webinar. Actually, I'm impressed what I've seen up to now, because it seems there's a major scheme program which is detailed, very detailed, prepared. So my first impression is very good. What I want to give you as explanatory here is most related with the certification body who wants to be accredited against 17024 and in their scope this electrical safety consultant and installer verifier scheme. So may I share my screen?
Yes, please.
But I couldn't this moment. Yeah, okay. So, actually, up to now, what we are listening is how to prepare a scheme by the scheme owner and what are the necessary components, and if someone wants to apply to those schemes to be certified, what steps are needed. But as you understand, this is in the verification step, validation step of the scheme by the scheme owner. So to complete the process, it needs completed the validation study, it needs taken out by certification body to apply accreditation, and the accreditation body needs to assess their methodologies and the compliance with the 17024 requirements and IAF MD 25 requirements in according to the assessment result to accredit them. The first thing that I want to say is you have one more step as a scheme owner. So at the beginning of 2024, the IAF start to apply MD25 mandatory procedure, which is the verifying, validating the conformity assessment scheme. Why? Because these schemes are established by the private organizations, and at this moment, it's not recognized globally. So in this reason, the first thing you have to do is after you completed the validation study, now you're in the public period, you're getting the comments, everything is open. When you complete the process and validating your scheme as a scheme owner, you have to contact with the accreditation body, local accreditation body or international accreditation body, doesn't matter, and ask their opinion to verifying your scheme regarding the MD25 criteria. Also, you can do it by yourself prior to applying the AB, and you provide some information to them. AB to AB, the process may differ, but the rules are the same. The first step you have to complete as a scheme owner to complete the MD25 process. Then after, as a national federation, maybe you would like to be a certification body and you will open your branch in the states in India, or you are giving some license to person certification body to use your own scheme. As a scheme owner, it doesn't matter. The new process will begin. This process requires, this is the framework, what you're preparing. So now we have to identify how we assess them. We need the question banks, we need the assessment methods, etc. So in different points, in different branches, we have to be sure that there is inconsistency in between the application method, question banks, etc. Maybe you can set one central question bank and everybody take question from there and prepare their test papers, or you can ask all brands prepare their questions and assessment methods locally by their certification committee. Both are possible. Then after you have, and the PCBs has to complete the assessment verification. What does it mean? Because the main standard 17024 is just based on fairness, reliable, and transparency. What does it mean? Each person has the same opportunity around the world or around the country. If I take this exam today by PCB-A with test paper A, I'll get one result and I'm failed. You have to be sure that then after PCB-B and test paper B will give the same result. If I fail, I have to fail in everywhere. If I pass, I have to pass everywhere. So it means that you need to provide equality of the assessment method around the country, around the national federation related organization by doing this personal certification. To do this, you need to be sure that you have many steps you have to complete. One is the creating test blueprints. So it means there are some requirements. There are job and task analysis. In between these job and task analysis requirements and the question to be asked, they need to be correlation. You have to be sure that the item discrimination, consistency, the quality of the question in all the different sections in your according to your test blueprints. Then after you need to complete your application to ABs, and the AB has to do some on-site check, evaluation, assessment to understand your process, your validation, and your test methods are in line with all the requirements. Then after, you will be accredited. Your branch or the related bodies will be accredited. So in this purpose, what IAS do is, IAS is government and the international recognized accreditation body, so which is a member of International Accreditation Forum. So it is the first signatory in 17024 multilateral agreement. And up to now in 5 continents, many customers accredited. But the one thing you have to remind, I have to remind you that personal certification at this moment is not as like as the other management system or testing or calibration laboratory accreditation. When you accredit management system certification body or testing laboratories, it means that due to level 5 multilateral agreement, this is something technical, but there are levels in the multilateral agreement up to level 3. It means that the accreditation bodies recognize each other and their process. In level 4 and level 5, it means that schemes, conformity assessment schemes are recognized internationally. At this moment, personal certification only has one international recognized scheme, which is owned by International Personal Certification, IPC, for the assessors. And some of them are on the way, but at this moment, again, there's only one international recognized certification scheme. So for your scheme, it will be more likely recognized in locally at the beginning, but in the upcoming days, if the process completes, if the MD25 process completes, it becomes international recognized if you apply IAF to recognize your scheme. It means if IAF, International Accreditation Forum, recognize the scheme, it becomes internationally recognized. In this moment, IAS can provide conformity assessment body for accreditation. And at the end of this accreditation, your scheme and your personal certification program become nationally recognized, or we don't say nationally. If you want to apply it in United States and it's accredited by United States, or if you apply in United Kingdom and it's accredited by UK, also it's recognized. But what I'm trying to say is there is no automatic process to recognition internationally for now, maybe in the future. So if government recognize at this moment, it is enough to do this certification. So you're part of India as a federation and you're following the international regulations. And I'm sure in your member is contacting with the government. So I believe that government, after accreditation, government will recognize your scheme and accept in the national level. What would I say as a last word to about IAS? IAS, United States-based accreditation body based in California, Brea. It is a non-profit organization and the subsidiary of International Code Council. It is also a non-profit organization, membership association. It is a publisher of the construction codes and standards throughout the USA. As I said, IAS was formed in 1975, and their operation is on the quality standard ISO IEC 17011. Many multilateral and multi-recognition agreement signatory under IAF, ILAC, APAC, and IAAC, Inter-American Accreditation Council. So, and it is the first accreditation body in the world who gives 17024 for multilateral recognition. Over 1,700 accredited clients in 56 countries and various accreditation fields such as personal certification, product certification, testing, calibration, inspection, management system, etc. In any case, we are ready to serve as accreditation body, as Mr. Anil pointed out, and we will be happy to serve you when you're ready to apply for accreditation, and we are ready to service. Thank you so much for invitation, and I hope this seminar will be fruitful for everybody to understand the process and establish and develop the process. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Osman. Thank you very much for the nice explanations. Mr. Dominic is back. Mr. Dominic, over to you. We have few questions to be answered. Already most of the questions are answered by Anil Jawhari sir, and I also added few of the answers. So some of the questions I would like to read. I was seeing some interesting question. Mr. Vijay Kumar is asking, re-evaluation done after certification. What is the time period for from certification? Madam, re-evaluation.
Yes.
I think 2 years.
No. The certificate is valid only for 5 years. Before the end of 5 years, that is within 6 months of expiry of the certificate, it is expected that the personal certification body issues a notice to these personnel, informs them that they have to reapply. That means the form has to be refilled and there are various criteria. They'll have to demonstrate, give evidence of their professional, keeping up with their professional trainings of about 40 hours. So a few prerequisites have been defined for re-evaluation at the end of 5 years. It will be again available in the website. And every 5 years, a re-examination has to be conducted.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, madam. Now we have another question. Can NFE certified professional conduct as a third-party inspector and sign the report in legal capacity? So I would like to invite Anil sir for your answer in this question. Also, we would like to probably if you can explain a little bit on the risk and the liabilities, responsibilities of NFE and the certified professional would be great.
See, to answer that question first, number one, the persons who are professionals who are certified under NFE scheme will be called third-party verifiers. They are independent verifiers. Okay, because they are independently certified. Now he says whether it's legally acceptable. Well, the scheme is not in place today. Is there a legal requirement for a professional to certify any legal? Then we'll have to look at whether what is the legal requirement and whether this certified verifier meets that legal requirement or not. That will be the second step. So we have to be clear about this legal part. Where is the legal requirement? Is there a legal requirement of a verifier? If there is one, then we have to see whether the certified verifier meets the requirement of what legally is required. If it meets the requirement, then we can draw some equivalence.
Okay, thank you, sir.
What was the second question, Gopal?
Yeah, the responsibilities or the guarantees and the responsibilities of NFE.
See, normally what happens is that normally there are always some of these jobs, even certification as an activity has its potentially liabilities, and therefore all international standards require that certification bodies take liability insurance or have some amount set aside for liability. In fact, as NABCB, we had liability insurance because even we can be liable tomorrow for having accredited a certification body or an inspection body which does something in the field which goes wrong, somebody goes to court. So I think that's a requirement. Perhaps I don't know whether we have put it in our scheme, but I think we should put in our scheme that the professional should be, should have indemnity insurance.
Okay.
They should indemnify themselves. I think if the requirement has not been put, we should put it there.
That means
as personal certification bodies, all will have that's a requirement of international standards for certification bodies and accreditation bodies that they must have a provision for liability in their system. Okay. I think we should put in a provision that the professionals should also have liability for they should take indemnity insurance. And as NFE, it might be a good idea to have a liability insurance as well, as a scheme on.
Okay, that means if a professional makes a mistake, then the responsibility also comes to NFE.
It can come to NFE, yes. It can come to NFE because we certify it, yes. So we should be prepared for that.
Yes. Okay, but on the other side, this is giving a kind of a good assurance to the customer that we are there on the back of.
In my 15 years of experience, I have not seen a single case of liability come up for accreditation body as an accreditation body. NABCB never faced one. I am not aware of any certification body having faced a court case or a liability issue.
Okay.
So the risk is in India, at least it seems the risk is very low that you will be hauled up for liability. But we should be prepared for that. That doesn't mean that we should not be prepared for it.
Okay, thank you, sir. I have a small question from Mr. Rishikesh. Can I apply 2 certificates at a time?
Yes, sure. You can be a designer. You can be an installer. You can be a verifier.
Okay.
A user may decide that if you have designed at some place, he will not invite you as verifier because that would be conflict of interest. That's a different issue altogether. But you have the competence to be all three, fine, you are competent. And you can be a third-party verifier at some site if somebody wants that. But not verify. I mean, normally we say as an auditor, you should not audit your own work. So if you have designed or if you have installed, then you should not be verifier there.
Okay. So somebody is asking about the detailed syllabus. Gentlemen, we can't see your name, but the syllabus is nothing but National Electrical Code of India 2023. So the 740
the competence criteria, draft competence criteria is the syllabus. I mean, people talk in terms of syllabus. This is very common. So the competence criteria which has been drafted under the scheme, which is based on, as Mr. Gopakumar said, based on National Electrical Code and other internationally known standards, is the syllabus. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
We refer to it as competence criteria.
Okay, sir. There is a gentleman who is asking, please give an example of a scheme owner.
Yeah, I gave Yoga Certification Board. Please go to the website. Google search. Yoga Certification Board is certifying yoga professionals, certifies yoga instructors, yoga teachers, yoga therapists. All these are being certified. I am a member of the board, so I can tell you that.
Yoga
I am telling you an
Certification
Indian
Board.
scheme owner, so that you know that. Yoga
Sir, this
Certification
yoga,
Board. Yes, please Google search and you will find that.
this is by the government of
It's a
India
Ministry of
or?
Ayush setup. Yes, it
Okay.
is by Ministry of Ayush.
Okay. So we have some technical questions. Earthing consultant, the certification related to electrical earthing will be covered in this. I think this is some kind of technical question. So somebody is asking about whether the certificate is equal to the electrical supervisor license of the electrical inspectorate. Gentlemen, that is also not there. We are not trying to connect our scheme or our professionals with any of the government system. This will be, as we explained, this is a voluntary system. We are only trying to improve the skill and knowledge of people. So that finally an user, a person who need the service will get a high quality service from these professionals. Then somebody is asking about, is CSE, Chartered Electrical Safety Engineer, mentioned in regulation and safety verifier from NFE is the same? No, absolutely no. These two are different. The Chartered Electrical Safety Engineer is mentioned in the regulation 6 is mainly verifying a little bit about the some of the regulation requirements, whereas we are completely trying to make based on the standards. Of course, we will also cover the regulation. So it will be an added advantage, or it's like it adds to the CESE. Simultaneously, Mr. Imran Maulavi, simultaneously there shall be some courses in which will teach how to design, execute, or verify. Sir, actually, Anil sir, there is a question a lot of people started asking. Who will conduct classes to equip the professional to handle the examination? Because if we look at our qualification criteria, NEC is a 750-page document, which is having a lot of cross-references. All the cross-references together will make it almost a 2,000-page technical document. So learning 100% from this, because our questions are from the entire book. So learning it 100% and making, writing an exam, or it's a little bit a challenge. It's not an easy task. So now, who can train these the probable candidates? Is a question.
So there are two options. When in 2015 I was leading the team which created the yoga certification system. I was asked the same question: who will train them to crack that exam? And my answer was that our success will be when coaching institutes come up to crack that exam, like IIT exam, JEE, cracking up JEE. So many coaching institutes have come. That will be our success. It's happening in yoga certification today. There are people who are preparing candidates to crack the exam of YCB. So our success would be that. But we don't have to wait for that. There's another way we can do, and that is, which is also in our minds, and we can certainly move on that after we launch this scheme. Which we did in yoga as well. After 1 year of launching yoga certification in 2015, we started a sort of certification program for yoga training institutions. So we were, the scheme has, the yoga certification scheme, if you go to the website, will tell you it is doing both. It's certifying professionals and it is certifying yoga training institutions as well. So we can introduce a system of yoga training, of certifying training institutions. If we do that, then we can also probably relax the criteria, competence criteria in terms of evaluation. That, okay, if you are coming through a certified training course, then we will exempt the written exam or the interview, and we'll only focus on part of this, so that whether you have actually learned from training, you can perform the job is there. So we can discuss these options. So either option is available. People will start training if the exam is seen to be valuable, if the certification is seen to be valuable in the market. People will come up who will train people. There will be training institutions who will come up on their own who will train people, like it has happened to IIT. I mean, IIT is a very good example of huge number of training institutions which are preparing students to crack IIT JEE. Same thing can happen here. Same thing is happening in yoga. I can tell you today. Same thing is happening in yoga. The training institutions have come up to train people to crack the examination of ICP, which is done through a number of personal certification bodies. So both these options are open.
Yeah, to start with, NFE as the scheme owner, is it allowed? NFE can train people? That is allowed?
See, there is, I'm sensitive to the issues of conflict of interest. As an accreditation body, we were very particular about conflict of interest. The problem is that if somebody is trained by NFE and then he goes to an NFE approved personal certification body to get certified, there will be an issue. How does he evaluate an NFE trained person and say he's not fit? So it's better not to get into training yourself to avoid, compromising your scheme. So it's better to stay at an arm's length and let there be a training institutions coming up from an arm's length if you do that. Yeah.
So that means.
But until the scheme comes, right now you're doing training, so that's fine.
Yeah. So no, right now our trainings are not exhaustive on the entire subject. We are only selecting some small subjects and making some kind of small seminars or webinars. This is not the exhaustive one. There is a question: who will be PRCB? From Mr. Ramaswamy.
Well, see, this is the question again. I'll go back to the yoga certification scheme. And somebody asked me who will be PRC. Well, people will come up. I can assure you that there are professional certification bodies right now in the market. There are two sources I can tell you straight away. Number one, if you go to NABCP website, you will see some 8 or 10 certification bodies, personal certification bodies already accredited to ISO 17024. Some of the external accreditation bodies like IAS, I'm aware that IA has accredited personal certification bodies in India. At least one, I am well aware. So that is one source. Second, there is a whole lot of sector skill councils under Ministry of Skill Development, and they have some expression called assessment bodies in various sectors. There may not be electrical safety right now because there is no scheme for electrical safety, but those assessment bodies know how to evaluate individuals, because they are doing the same thing. They are not called personal certification bodies. They are called assessment bodies. So there are a number of bodies in the market today who are actually doing what is called personal certification. And these are the two sources that I told you. A third source I can tell you. Universities are very good at, conducting exams. You know that. We have all been through. Universities can be a potentially personal certification body. In areas where they don't teach, there's no conflict because they don't teach that subject. But they can be personal certification body. One good example is we got 2 universities. We have a scheme in Quality Council of India where I was earlier. A scheme for, I spoke about it, the traditional healers. There are 2 universities which are actually acting as personal certification body. Northeast Christian University in Nagaland and Transdisciplinary University in Bangalore. And university certification brings its own kind of value that university has certified. So that is third potential source that some universities might get interested in this. Okay. We can explore that idea.
I had some discussion with some of the universities in Bangalore and Chennai. Few of them are very much interested. The universities who
we can guide them on how to become a personal certification.
Yeah.
You can, if you want, we can do a short session with them. Yeah. A physical session even. I am prepared to come down wherever you want. We can do a physical session with universities to explain to them how they can be personal certification.
Okay. Mr. Osman, you would like to add any points for the information of the participants?
Actually, as an AB, our role is not related with participants, but if there is any specific question regarding accreditation process, I'm happy to answer. Otherwise, nothing more.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. So mostly we have answered.
So I have a question for Usman.
Yes, please.
Osman, how many personal certification bodies do you have in India who are accredited by IAS?
If I'm not wrong, 5. Mostly for NDT. Yeah, NDT field.
So Gopakumar, these 5 certification bodies which are accredited by IAS are potentially some of them may be interested in this business.
Yeah.
I'm sure IS can help you connect with them.
Sure,
Okay.
sure, definitely.
As scheme owners, we need to connect with potential personal certification. But thank you, Usman.
Thank you, Mr. Anil.
Thank you, Mr. Osman. Thank you. So it's time to close. I don't know, Mr. Dominic is back there. Mr. Dominic, can you hear?
Yes, sir. I'm there, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah. So good interaction that we had. What we will do to all the participants, we will send you the link, which is now open for comments in the with the Suraksha in the chat box. We've been sharing the link for any feedback, improvement area, and we will also send you by email. And we'll also share you the questions that important question that has been raised today to the speakers and see whether we can answer to them. Some of the questions that we're not able to attend, we'll also reply to them. So when are we? Are we going to have part 2 of this, Gopakumar? How about how are we going forward with this? Once the final draft is there, should we go with the draft and say we are going to unveil this?
Yeah, madam, the question
Do
is...
we have any deadline set for the
Yes.
comment to be received?
Yes, it's a 1 month's time period that is available now for comments. We had launched it on September 6th, if that's the right date. By October 1st week, we expect to receive all comments. And further to that, I think we will close, because then we will take it up for review with the steering committee and formalize the documents. And then we will go for the launch. The official launch would happen after the steering committee reviews the final documents. So we'll get ready for the final launch, hopefully by October. That's a good countdown.
So can we say the closing date for receiving the comments would be end of this month?
October 6th. October 6th. We have
October 6th. Okay. October 6th. I'll make a note and we send out reminders to all the electrical engineers and especially the members of NFE. And
I would think, Gopakumar, I would think after the closing date of the comments, it might just still need about a month's time to get all the documents through the steering committee, finalize all the documents, and be ready for a launch. So Gopakumar should think about Word Quality Day, which is second Thursday of every November. A possible occasion for launching of the scheme, or the quality month. Of course, November is quality month, but second Thursday, I think, is the quality day, Word Quality Day. So we might just target that.
Okay. Thanks, sir. Thanks. That's a great idea.
That's for the launch of the accreditation. So, any suggestion for receiving the comments?
Yeah.
She said 6th of October. Should we keep?
Anybody can send comments. I think there's a format already given. The website has been given. Any of these listeners who are there, if they have any comments, they are free to send their comments. Each comment will be approved, which is in place already, before we go to the steering committee.
And the deadline preferred is 6th October, because after that we will start work on reviewing the comments. And therefore,
that's right.
6th comment was 6th October, which is the deadline.
Yes. It took almost 4 or 5 months for us to make these documents. We were meeting quite often and discussing, debating, and finally it has happened. Thank you very much for all the supports, Anil Jowhary sir and madam. So,
Great. Thank you so much. Lovely to have Mr. Osman Varul from Turkey. You're in US or Turkey, sir, today?
He's in Turkey.
It's moment I'm in Turkey, yes.
Today I'm in Turkey. What's the time now in Turkey there?
It is 3 p.m.
3 p.m. So it's 5:35 p.m. I think we have 3.5 hours.
Half 2.5 hours.
2.5 hours, yeah. So good seeing you, sir. And you've seen how electrical community moving towards quality and inspections and all that. A lot of effort by Gopakumar driving this to bring certain quality, because we don't have certified electrical engineer in India. So with this exercise, We can identify who's qualified to write the specification, who can call for a tender, and who can, with architect, how do you qualify yourself? So very interesting turn that we are doing. Thank you very much, everyone. We have spent 1.5 hours now on this program. I want to thank all the participants also patiently listening to the speakers. Comments always welcome. Any improvement, any suggestions, we are open to receive your comments. Thank you very much. Have a great evening and look forward to see you again. Thank you.